I speak to hundreds of recruiters every single month, and one of the biggest challenges I see them face is not knowing how to effectively market map. If you're a recruiter who's relying on your database and just recycling through the same pipeline of prospects month to month to the point where you're sick of seeing the same names and you're feeling a little bit stuck, I'm about to change your life, so keep watching until the very end. Firstly, let's get into what is market mapping. So market mapping is simply understanding your market and who the decision makers are. I like to call this knowing who's who in the zoo. I typically find that recruitment agencies with older database think that they have a lot of contacts, but when it comes down to it, the information is so outdated, and in some cases, it makes the recruiter's life harder, not easier. Now, you can market map clients, but you can also market map candidates, and this isn't limited to just sales. I've personally recruited within very candidate short markets most often, and so do most of my recruitment agency clients. And therefore, it's just as important to map our talent when we operate in this type of market as it is to map our clients out. Now, I know there are a lot of automated tools out there which can import thousands of leads at a time. But honestly, I'm a quality over quantity kind of girl, and I prefer to market map in real time, so I know that the information I'm getting is 100% accurate. And I can also add my prospects or the candidates on LinkedIn and connect with them to build familiarity before I reach out to them as well. Now, this is really, really important because what this ultimately means is you're actually warming up your prospects slightly before you reach out. And what you'll start to notice is that if you do that consistently, you'll get a much more positive response. Now, let's talk about mapping out clients and how you do that. Ultimately, you need to know all of the companies within the field that you recruit within. That's a non-negotiable. And you also need to know where they are based geographically as well. So let's say hypothetically, you're a real estate recruiter and you cover Sydney only. You would need to know which real estate agencies are based in Sydney, and you need to know every single one. You need to know their size. You need to know if they use agencies, who the key decision makers are. That's ultra important. It's like doing a high-level analysis of pretty much any business that you can help and getting that bird's eye view of what's going on within that business. So in addition to the branches or the locations and the decision makers, you would also need to know whether they have a talent acquisition or HR department or even an internal recruitment team. I'll get into why that's super important in a moment. But the way that I go about this and how I map my client base is I run a Boolean search on Google, and then when I've got a list of all the companies, I will then go onto their company page on LinkedIn and click into the people tab and review their employee list. So all you need to do is literally go to the search bar on LinkedIn, copy and paste the company name, and under the people tab, you can actually browse all of the employees. It's really great because this is in real time and you can add them to your CRM as well. Now, something you can also do is click into their profile, and next to their image in that section at the top, it says contact info. And about 70 to 80% of the time, there's actually at least an email address there as well. So it's a really great way to find their contact details. If you do want to take this one step further, you can also buy Signal Hire credits. Now, Signal Hire is a website where you can retrieve contact information of pretty much anyone, and then you can actually import them and code them in your database. In my experience, Signal Hire has been the best system that actually does this. It's been the most accurate system. However, I know there's a lot of tools out there that people do use as well. But ultimately, that's the way I do it. And sometimes I get my administration team to do this process for me as well. I definitely see value in doing it yourself, because if you're the consultant who's actually going out and working out who's who in the zoo, you've already got that knowledge in your head, so that when you're reaching out, you've already got that bird's eye view of what's going on. However, I know a lot of us are very busy and time poor, so if this isn't like a huge priority for you to actually map the market right this second, what I suggest is hiring a VA or an administrator who in the background can populate your database and actually run this process for you, so that when you are doing your business development, your database is already there, it's already coded. So this is just a really great way to continuously pipeline and run this process in the background. Now, I mentioned about understanding whether your prospect has a TA team or an internal recruitment team. And the reason I love working out whether a business has an internal team or not is that I can actually anticipate their objections from this alone. Now, if you can preempt what the decision makers are going to say, and you can be assumptive in the fact that they're saying we've got an internal team, you can dial or you can send a message to any prospect and you know how to reach out to them, because ultimately you know what they're immediately going to say. So you can actually address that in your first contact. So an example could be, hey Joe, I noticed that you've got a talent acquisition team at ABC Real Estate Agency. Just wanted to reach out as I specialize in this space, and I've actually got a talent pool with the hardest role that there is to fill. Let's just pretend it's a property manager. I'm wondering whether you're having the same problem as most of my clients at the moment, where property managers are really tough to find. If there's any way I could partner with yourself or your internal team to help fill any gaps of those hard to fill positions, please let me know. Can you see how I've immediately just anticipated their objection because I've done my research? And when I'm reaching out, that personalized message is not just, hey Joe, love what you do at ABC company. I'm actually, just by anticipating, I'm immediately resonating with them. So I hope that makes sense. That's a hack that I actually teach during my sales training program, amongst a bunch of other hacks as well. But look, we won't be talking about the first contact in today's video, but do let me know in the comments if you do want me to create a video on this, because I know that this is something recruiters definitely struggle with. Response rates are low at the moment, especially on LinkedIn, because every client's getting a million messages. So as a recruiter, we need to disrupt their reflex to say no. And I definitely teach that, so let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video. But going back to market mapping, like I said, you need to know who's who in the zoo, because you need to build a relationship with all of them. It takes just one leader to take a liking to you, and even if all the others in the business ignore you, who cares? That's your one in. You only need that one that you need to nurture. And once you've done that and you can get that internal referral in the business, and perhaps you've done a good job for one person, you can then grow the account as well. So that's why I really love doing this thoroughly, because one person's bound to like you in a business. Like they will at some point, even if you have to go through your multiple touch points. One person will need you. Something I always do when I'm market mapping as well is I connect with every single one of my target prospects on LinkedIn. At the time I add them, I know that they're 100% cold. But by the time they see my optimized profile, my consistent content, I've done a couple of engagements with them if they post content, it's then a really easy conversation opener because there's familiarity. And familiarity alone is going to help you increase your outreach to meeting conversion rate. Now, by the way, if you aren't building your personal brand on LinkedIn and being consistent with this, I definitely suggest you do as soon as possible. The statistic is that 82% of prospects are actually reviewing your profile and your testimonials before deciding if they want to work with you. So if you aren't sharing your advice and your guidance and what it's like to work with you, you're literally losing leads, because people are considering you, clicking into you, there's nothing there that markets you, and they're going, too risky, I don't want to be the guinea pig. So this is really, really important to remove the guesswork from their decision and make yourself that no-brainer option that they want to partner with. By the way, I teach everything that I've mentioned in this video. My role now is I train recruiters, everything from personal branding on LinkedIn, building pipelines, outreach, objection handling, all the way through to closing. So if you do want to submit an inquiry about working with me, there is a link in the description. If you want to upskill, let me know what you're looking for and we can have a chat. Now, let's talk about candidate market mapping. This process is pretty much the same. However, you won't be able to run a Google search for candidates. The way that you do this is once you have that master list of companies from Google, the ones that you're targeting, when you go onto their company page on LinkedIn, it's also got a list of their employees. So just scroll through that and look through any potential candidates that you can build a relationship with. Again, add them to your network, because your first agreed connections will be fed your content, and therefore this can move them through the sales cycle. The reason I love personal branding is, yeah, it may just be like a little 1% daily, but those 1%, you're ultimately just like chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. You're memorable, you're familiar. There will be a time when they need you, because let's face it, no one stays in a job for 50 years these days. So if you think about it, if you're consistent with this, every 2 years, every single person in your network will need your services if we're talking about candidates. So this is something where you want to be front of mind. It's not good enough anymore to just be operating in the background. As a recruiter, you need to master marketing yourself, because if you're not, your competitor is. And who is your candidate base going to go to when they need help? You or your competitors that have helped them dozens and dozens and dozens of times? Who do you think they're going to register with? So it really is a no-brainer. You need to be doing this. Another way you can search for candidates is, let's just say you find their profile, but there's no contact details. I love to just copy and paste their name into Seek or Indeed or any other job board if you're outside of Australia. Just literally have a look for an old resume, because quite often people have uploaded a resume like 3 years ago and people don't really change their mobile numbers too often. So, or their email addresses for that. So you can definitely get immediate access to contact details of pretty much anyone that way as well. Now, something important is don't forget to code them on your database. Coding is the biggest lifesaver for me, and I'm so glad I got this set up from day one. The reason is because after just a few clicks, I've got a talent pool because my coding is literally perfect. Now, I know every recruiter does this a little bit differently, but you need to find a way to code and track both clients and candidates. The way I code my database is in two different ways. The first way that I do this is I have lists, which are ultimately long lists in my ATS. So for example, my long lists are construction recruiters, property recruiters, engineering recruiters, mining recruiters, medical recruiters, healthcare recruiters, and so on. So every single time I get a job in, which is, let's say, healthcare recruiter, click into my long list, boom, there's 400 people in there that I already have access to because I've done the hard yards and I've coded them. Now, what you can then do is send out mass marketing emails. You can nurture this list of people. I know that medical and healthcare recruitment is my busiest space. So what I actually do is nurture people that are in this space as well, who I think that I can help. So even when I don't have a job, there's familiarity. I'm connected on LinkedIn. They get monthly marketing emails from me, which is value adding. I'm sharing like a podcast, for example, or a video like this. This is a type of video that would go on my mailing list. Like, recruiters, if you want to learn to market map, watch this. So I'm not saying you have to go out and make videos, but what can you share with your audience which is value adding? Is it a salary survey? Is it a white paper? Is it advice? Is it, another piece of content? If you are posting regularly on LinkedIn, you're going to have content. So just think about your audience and how you can nurture them. Within these lists, I do also go one step ahead as well, and I tag my contacts manually. So for example, my system's customized, so I've got tags that are cold, warm, and hot. And what I do is when people are in my lists, so let's just say I've got 400 medical recruiters, they're also tagged as cold, warm, and hot. So ultimately, I know what information to send out to my cold list is going to be very different to what information I send out to my hot list as well. My hot list is people that I've screened and know would move for the right role. My cold list, I'm not going to go straight in with a job to these people because I need to build the relationship first. So that's why I'm talking about this in the market mapping phase, because coding is going to be the biggest difference between whether your market mapping is successful or whether you do it and it just sits in the database and doesn't work for you. You need this to be working for you. Ultimately, what you want to do is set it up so you can click into lists or you can click into tags and do this in whatever language means something to you. Like cold, warm, and hot makes sense to me, but maybe you've got would move for the right role or passively looking, I don't know. So just make sure that your tags align to the way you operate as well. So it's just really easy for you to be able to get a short list that way as well if you're organized. And I do the same with my client lists. I code them exactly the same, cold, warm, and hot. Monthly, I'll look at this list, cast my eyes over, and I'll say, right, who do I need to do a little bit of nurturing with? Who's almost there, but hasn't quite had the opportunity to work with me yet? Who do I need to connect with on LinkedIn? Who do I need to send a cold outbound message to? Who's been commenting on my posts lately so I can feel that I'm warming them up, You'll actually start to notice as you build your pipeline this way as well. Every time you look through the names, someone might be in the cold list, but then 1 month later when I review, I'm like, that person's liked my content 5 times. I know that they like what I have to say. So the message that I send is then very different. And this is what I mean by setting up your market mapping so you can move people through the sales pipeline. I don't want you to market map as an admin task. Like I want you to get really strategic with building funnels. That's what this is. This is all about building funnels and nurturing the cold, the warm, and the hot contacts in the right way. By the way, it's so much easier to retain business than it is to find new business. So even treat your hot lists like gold dust. I mean, a lot of people, they go, oh, it's a client now, they're signed off, I don't need to nurture them. But actually, these are the best people that you can nurture because you can grow the account. If you've done a good job for someone, firstly, they're more likely to come back to you, but secondly, they're more likely to refer you to a friend as well. So definitely check in with these people, share advice that you think could be valuable, even if they aren't hiring as well. It's almost like I saw this and I thought of you. I really recommend you do that because I promise you, do you know how many leads I've got off the back of reaching out to a client that isn't hiring, but their friend that they go out with on the weekend is hiring? People have friends that are just like them. So your marketing manager client will have marketing manager friends. So what are you doing to nurture your hot list? It's so important. Now, I wanted to touch on ad chasing as well, because I know a lot of recruiters find their prospects through ad chasing. Now, I'm not against ad chasing, and I've had a ton of success doing this, particularly back in the day, but in my experience, it's now becoming a bit too competitive. It used to be about right place, right time, and if you had a great candidate, you could usually just get the job on and fill it really quickly. But these days, companies have internal recruitment teams or 25 recruiters or more contacting them after they've posted a job advert online. So look, I'm not saying it can't work, it definitely can, but I recommend mapping your market out as well, making the connections on LinkedIn with your audience, and literally getting your entire prospect list in your network so they know who you are. It just makes it so much easier. Number one, when you call and say, hey, it's Jess from Rare, and they say, oh, Jess, I love your posts, or, that post about BD really helped me. But the other thing is you're helping them when they're not hiring, which means subconsciously you're leaving a good impression on these people so that when they have got an immediate need and their favorite staff member quits their role, they go, oh, who should I call? Jess. Jess is the one that has helped me 10 times without me paying her $1. So let me give Jess a call. So I'm really not the type of recruiter that's into that spray and pray type of approach. And I personally focus on adding a shitload of value again and again, but to the right people. That's what I'm all about. I nurture the right people and I go above and beyond to do more for them than others are willing to do. Everyone else is doing their monthly touch points, or, they've got 1,000 people in their database and they're contacting them once every 6 months. But I'm very inch wide, mile deep. That's always my approach, and it's always served me very, very well. I don't believe in calling people just to hit your monthly quota. I believe in contacting people because I've got something interesting to say to them. So if this approach does resonate with you and you want to move away from a more of a transactional KPI driven model to being more strategic with the way that you generate leads and increase your conversion rates, I can definitely help you. I run programs for individuals as well as teams, and I run personal branding, lead generation, business development, sales, and converting training programs for recruiters specifically. So if you did want to check out my programs, I'll leave a link in the description for you to do so, and you can submit an inquiry. And if this video helped you, please do give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe to be notified of new videos that I post weekly. I post a new podcast episode every Tuesday and a new educational training video like this one every Thursday. So be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.